Oh, hey everyone, it's me, Ms. McCormick. And today, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite players of all time to ever play for my favorite college team, the Tennessee Volunteers, which is quarterback Josh Dobbs. Anyways guys, without further ado, let's start on talking about Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs was born on January 26, 1995, in Alpharetta, Georgia, where he was also raised. Hey, I noticed that he has the same birth year as me. Anyways, let's continue, shall we? He started to play football when he was 5 years old. He would attend Alpharetta High School, where he would play for their football team. As a senior in high school, he threw for 3,625 yards along with 29 touchdowns. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 4-star recruit, the 107th best player, the 8th best pro-style quarterback, and the 10th best player out of Georgia out of the class of 2013, which is the year that I graduated high school. As a true freshman in 2013, he played in 5 games with 4 starts after starter Justin Worley was injured in a loss against number 1 ranked Alabama. Ugh, I know I hate Alabama so much because they always beat us. But in that game, he would complete 5 of 12 passes for 75 yards. He would start his first career game against number 10th ranked Missouri. He completed 26 of 42 passes for 240 yards in a loss, which was the most passing yards in a freshman debut since 2004. After losses to Auburn and Vandy, Dobbs had a solid performance against Kentucky. In that game, he threw his first 2 career touchdowns and even had a 40-yard rushing touchdown. Overall, in his true freshman season, he completed 72 of 121 passes for 695 yards along with 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and rushed for 189 yards and a touchdown. Going into the 2014 season, Dobbs would compete with Worley and Peterman for the starting job. Worley would be announced as the starter for the 2014 season, however, Dobbs took over as the starter in November as Worley was injured in a loss to Ole Miss. Peterman would be the starter against 4th-ranked Alabama, but Dobbs would come in relief as he performed well by putting up 192 passing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in a loss to the Tide. Against South Carolina, Dobbs would have a breakout game. He had 301 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 166 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns as they won in overtime 45-42. Against Kentucky, Dobbs had 297 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 48 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown as Tennessee won 50-16. Dobbs would help Tennessee reach their first bowl game since 2010. Tennessee would win their bowl game against Iowa 45-28. Dobbs threw for 129 yards and 1 touchdown and rushed for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns as he was named Tax Slayer Bowl MVP. Overall, in his sophomore season he finished with 1,206 passing yards along with 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and 469 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns in just 6 games. Dobbs would be the starter for the Vols entering the 2015 season. He would open up the season by putting up 205 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 89 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown in a win over Bowling Green. In Tennessee's home opener against Oklahoma, Dobbs had 125 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 12 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. We would end up losing this one in double overtime 31-24. Against Florida, Dobbs burned through the defense for 136 rushing yards and caught a 58-yard touchdown pass that was thrown by wide receiver Joe Jennings. We lost 28-27 after the field goal just went a little to the right. Against Georgia, Dobbs threw for 312 passing yards and 3 touchdowns along with 118 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. His efforts in the game led Tennessee to a comeback to end their losing streak against Georgia. Against Alabama, Dobbs had 171 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown in a close game that we lost 19-14. Tennessee would end the 2015 season winning their bowl game over Northwestern 45-6. Overall, Dobbs ended up having 2,291 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns, 671 rushing yards and 11 rushing touchdowns for the 2015 season. Dobbs entered the 2016 season as Tennessee's starting quarterback in his final year of college eligibility. He started the season with a solid performance in which he had 192 passing yards in a close win over Appalachian State. In the Battle of Bristol, which holds the record for largest single-game attendance in college football, Dobbs had 3 passing touchdowns along with 2 rushing touchdowns. In the comeback win over the 19th-ranked Florida Gators, Dobbs had 319 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 80 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown to lead Tennessee to their first win over Florida since 2004. Against Georgia, in one of the best college football games I've ever seen, Dobbs had 230 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Georgia would take the lead with 10 seconds left as quarterback Jacob Eason threw the ball to Riley Ridley down the sidelines to put Georgia up 31-28. Tennessee got the ball back with 4 seconds left after penalties were called against Georgia. Then came the play that gave me the chills. Dobbs threw the ball to the end zone and Jennings caught it with no time left as Tennessee won 34-31. Tennessee would be 5-0 after that going into their next game against Texas A&M, in which we lost 45-38 in double overtime. Dobbs threw for 398 yards and 1 passing touchdown as well as catching a touchdown from Jennings. Dobbs continued his performances for the rest of the season as he threw 5 touchdowns with 223 passing yards and 190 rushing yards against Missouri and 340 passing yards in a loss against Vandy. How do you lose to Vandy? They're like the Browns of the SEC. Not only that, we went from 5-0 to finish 8-4. In his final game of his college career, Dobbs had 291 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 118 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. He would be named MVP of the game as Tennessee beat Nebraska 38-28 in the Music City Bowl. Again, Tennessee finished the season 9-4. The 18 wins were the most for the Vols in a 2-year span since 2006 and 2007. During his time at Tennessee, Dobbs majored in aerospace engineering. He would be presented with the 2017 Torchbearer Award, which recognizes accomplishments in the community and academics. He would also be named to the SEC Academic Honor Roll. Dobbs was projected to be a 4th or 5th round pick, and that was the case when the Steelers took him in the 4th round of the 2017 NFL Draft. The Steelers also drafted his former college teammate, which is cornerback Cameron Sutton. Dobbs spent his entire rookie season behind starter Ben Roethlisberger and backup Landry Jones. He made his NFL debut in 2018 as he kneeled down in a win against the Falcons. Then in Week 9 against the Ravens, Dobbs completed a pass to Juju after Roethlisberger got injured on the previous play. In Week 14 against the Raiders, Dobbs once again came into the game after Roethlisberger suffered a rib injury. He finished with 4 of 9 passes for 24 yards and 1 interception as the Steelers lost 24-21. But overall in the 2018 season, he appeared in only 5 games and completed 6 of 12 passes for 43 yards and 1 interception. During the 2019 season, Dobbs was traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars after Mason Rudolph won the backup job. He was released by the Jaguars a year later and came back to the Steelers. He re-signed with the Steelers on a 1-year contract 7 days before the first anniversary of the Dish Girls series. Overall in his NFL career, he only came in on some occasions and would get limited of playing time. Dobbs seems to be a nice guy in both college and in the NFL, and I will never forget all the things he did when he played for my Vols. He was pretty much the best quarterback the Vols have had since Peyton Manning and has made Tennessee relevant again. Well everyone, I hope you all enjoyed me talking about the story of one of my favorite players to ever play for my favorite college team. Now I have to go and do some important stuff, but before I go, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe because Sports Dude 13 would appreciate that, and I will see you guys later and go Vols.